It's a little interesting that the backup point guard minutes are going, at least for now, solely to Keon Ellis. Davion Mitchell
Yeah.
did not see any play time against the Cavaliers. Keon Ellis has been playing extremely well in his time, particularly on the defensive end. And meanwhile, I mean, Davion Mitchell, I mean, we just got finished talking about Barnes, but through all 9 games, aside from the game against Portland, Davion Mitchell might be the biggest disappointment this season for the Kings. You know, from foul trouble to not making as big of an impact, or at least not kind of like it being glaringly clear that he's making an impact on defense. And, you know, his shot's been hit or miss and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, if you really wanted one of the two guys, Keon Ellis and Davion Mitchell, to be like the better of the two, who would you rather basically hold on to for the future? You'd like Keon Ellis because he's longer, he's a little taller, and you know he provides cheaper. Yeah, that's for sure. And I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine Davion Mitchell's not going to have an opportunity again. He will have an opportunity again. I think, as we'll talk about, I mean, like Keon Ellis is still such a young player. He's still so inexperienced. He's going to hit rough patches and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, as they kind of wrestle throughout the season, at least as it seems now, for minutes in that backup point guard role, Keon Ellis could put himself in a position where the Kings don't really feel compelled to think of Mitchell as part of the future of the Kings or the core. You know, Keon could easily replace him. So Keon Ellis getting minutes. Davion Mitchell hasn't really had that season. I mean, he was, at least we were talking a lot about Davion in preseason. He was a big topic. And so far, it's just kind of been a letdown.
No, I mean, it's been a big letdown. And third year guy, I mean, sophomore slump, whatever. I always say that, right? At least I'm never expecting big things in year 2. But year 3, I mean, that's when you're really supposed to start to take off. And he's not. And he's like regressed, if anything. I mean, he's just the same guy on offense, just almost a liability out there at points. If you look at net ratings with lineups he's in, they're overwhelmingly not good. His offensive rating's low, the defensive rating's high. You know, something you're not wanting to see. So I don't know. It's just, you know, it's frustrating. He's a lottery pick. He's a third-year player, and I can see Davion getting traded this year, or them at least trying to trade him. He just doesn't have a lot to show. You know, he's just the same player. He can't really run the offense. Not that good offensively. Can't shoot the ball. He's going to bring you the intensity on defense, but I mean, it's only going to get you so far. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just doesn't even seem like his defense. I mean, Mike Brown said it today, Tuesday, or maybe he said it after the game on Monday. One of the two. He said Davion's got to get back to playing defense and using his superpower. And, you know, again, kind of thinking about what really matters, it doesn't really matter so much what we think. It matters more what Mike Brown thinks. And clearly, based on that statement, based on the fact that he's playing Keon Ellis, who's been so good defensively. I mean, Kevin Huerter almost had a slip of the tongue after the game on Friday. He's like, yeah, Keon, he gets his hands on so many balls.
It feels like he gets his hands on so many balls. Yeah, honestly.
And he's like, defensively.
Defensively.
But, you know, Davion Mitchell, meanwhile, is kind of, again, underperformed on that end. And I remember, I don't know if it was in training camp or in the first week of the season, but Mike Brown was talking about Davion and being like, yeah, you know, obviously he's the best on-ball defender on the perimeter out of anybody on the team, but he's still got things to work on off-ball. And you think about Keon Ellis, one of the things, especially watching Summer League this past July, was the fact that Keon Ellis had a nose for the ball. He was almost playing like free safety. He just flocked to it. He'd always end up wherever the ball was going. And so, like, in terms of like on-ball and off-ball defense, maybe Davion's got him an on-ball defense, but almost as an overall defender, I think there's room for an argument that Keon Ellis could be on a trajectory to be the better defender. And again, as we mentioned early in this topic, the physical attributes of being taller and longer really do help him. I mean, Davion Mitchell guarded Klay Thompson so well 2 weeks ago on that game-winning shot. He stayed with him. Man, if he was a little taller, though, maybe he would have actually disrupted the shot a little, or at least done it more. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that just seems like the story there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's right now. It seems like Keon's job to lose. I don't know. I think we're gonna run into an issue, kind of like the Metu, who was in Len and Kata situation last year, where it's like, well, Keon's good on defense, but he can't shoot the ball. Let's go to Davion, because I mean that's their problem, right? Is that they're good defenders, but they're both not the best on offense.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be a bit of a tug of war there. I mean, Keon Ellis, I think, had 2 early turnovers in that Cleveland game. There was always room for him to kind of start going down a path where he's now not really helping the team as much. And if his shot doesn't come around, then yeah, that it amplifies even more opportunities probably for Davion. And so, yeah, I could see it being a carousel too. But in terms of 3-point shooting, Keon Ellis, coming out of college, was far better touted shooter than Davion Mitchell. Well, if you're talking about form, because I think Davion Mitchell's last season at Baylor was such a big thing. But I mean, Keon Ellis came out as a strict 3-and-D guy. He's going to be a 3-and-D guy. We've seen him shoot threes pretty well. I don't know what his stats were in the G League last season, but again, over the summer, he shot really well. His teammates really talk about his shot, his 3-point shot being pretty good. I think, Monk was asked after one of the games where it's like, are you surprised by Keon? He's like, no, he always comes in and plays good defense and knocks down a 3 or 2, It happens all the time. I think Fox and Herter have said other nice things about Keon's outside shooting. So I think that'll come along. But I mean, that's another thing too, is where it's just like, if you look at the big picture here beyond this season, it's like, there's a lot of reasons to think, despite the fact that Keon Ellis was undrafted and Davion Mitchell was a lottery pick, that Keon Ellis has a little bit of a higher ceiling, and the shooting and the physical attributes really help with that. So I don't know, really something to keep an eye on going forward.
Yeah.
Hope for Davion, because Davion, when he got moved out of that spot starting point guard role and Keon Ellis got that first start against Portland, Davion had a resounding answer and response in that game. He had his best game of the season. So when that opportunity does come along, I wouldn't be surprised if Davion comes out and play some really good basketball. How long it'll last, that's really the question.